an astrologer, and astrology is the science of the soul. And so when you bring two souls together, there is a segment of astrology which, looks at the compatibility, or another term for it is called synastry, which is the kind of the alchemy of what happens when two souls come together. And so from that, there is this whole branch of astrology where you can look at couples and relationships. It doesn't have to be just man and woman. It can be a parent and child and siblings, whatever, friends, and you can see why you're drawn to people. What is the energy between their planets that bring them together. And just like our own souls plan our lifetime, we actually in spirit, between lives, choose our life pattern. I think I coined it, maybe somebody else said it before, but I kind of coined this term called, and I say it's your astrology chart is your course curriculum for planet Earth. It's what you've come to do. It's your lessons that you're learning. It's your gifts that you're bringing to this, to this lifetime, and what you, want to do while you're here. And as a younger astrologer, I've been doing astrology for 40 years now. As a younger astrologer, I thought there was a lot of free will involved, but there really is quite a bit of planning that we do, quite a bit. And so the people that we meet are, we plan to come back and work things out with them, or, do something wonderful with them. Maybe we have a plan to do, to bring something to the world together. So that is what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about souls coming together and what they have to do. Okay, and just for a little background on soulmates, I did a little research. I mean, I kind of knew this a little bit, but I went into it a little more deeply. And that is, who first brought the concept of soulmates, to human consciousness. And it really was the Greek philosophers, and Plato was the first. He was the first one who identified soulmates and talked about them. And then he was a great teacher, in Greek antiquity, and so he taught. It was the Greek philosophers that really, I couldn't find it anywhere else. I mean, a little bit in Egypt, but not enough that, I could get any information. And what the story is about how soulmates came about was, and this is what Plato said, is that at one point, many moons ago, back then, humanity or mankind had evolved to this state where we were, our aspects of our own soul were joined. Our masculine, feminine aspects of our soul were connected. We actually had two faces and four arms, and we were in, that was the state we were in. But Zeus, the god Zeus, who was the head god, didn't like that, because we were, I don't know, something about we were getting too evolved, or we were getting too close to the gods or something. And so he divided our souls in half, and so then we had this masculine polarity and feminine polarity. And so from that, that is where you have this soulmate consciousness, and that's why we all have this yearning to find that other piece of ourselves and come back together. And that yearning is love. That yearning is we want to find that other aspect of ourselves and come back together. The soulmate relationship is, there's different levels of it. There's different levels of the soulmate. So let's start with platonic relationships, not non-romantic, marital, lovers, that kind of thing. So the platonic was, like I mentioned earlier, is perhaps a parent and child. So maybe a parent and child come together, and that parent maybe said, I'm going to be your teacher and I'm going to help you develop your talent as a great musician, and I'm going to be the one who supports you and brings you, to your fullest. Because soulmates are, trying to do that. We're trying to heal each other, balance each other, and support each other, bring each other to our highest state of evolution. So that's one way that platonic friends can be, deep friendships can be the platonic relationships. Matter of fact, they call them companion soulmates. Where again you come together to just be this, travel together as in support of each other in your growth, and siblings, that kind of thing. So those relationships are the platonic ones. Now they also can be karmic, because goodness knows, siblings, parents can be a huge karmic relationship for you, So, okay, so that's platonic. So then the next, we're going to talk about karmic relationships, but karmic relationships in terms of lovers or, mates and that sort of thing. And so same thing with that. You keep coming back with people to work things out. And of course, there is one of the strongest form of relationship where we really get our workforce. And so people, and a karmic relationship doesn't necessarily have to be bad, or I should say bad, have a lot of work to do in it, but they often do. And so, again, there can be issues with, domination, one over the other, codependency, that kind of thing that we're working out with a partner. And they're very intense. It doesn't mean that there isn't love involved in those relationships, but there's also a lot of the egoic stuff in it that you're working out with that person. And they you don't necessarily, waltz off into the sunset with these people. You have your, time with them, and hopefully you learn from them. I know myself, I've had some wonderful karmic relationships, very deep, very loving, but they just didn't work out. But I learned a lot from those men that I was involved with, and learned different ways of loving. Each one had a different way of, where I learned something about myself and about love through them. And so, even though, again, they're not always the easiest, they're hard. There's a lot of difficulty in those relationships, a lot of lessons to be learned. But if you learn them, you are wiser, you know a little more about love then, and you bring that wisdom that you gained from that relationship into your next relationship, and hopefully learn to love a little better, love a little less with your ego and more with your soul and your heart. So that's the karmic relationship. The next one is level of, like, let's see, it's twin soul, I think you would call it, or at least a soul that you have been with many, many times. And now when you get to this level, you're starting to come together with a soul to have a mission, almost, to have something that you have to do together, So it might be, I shouldn't say a simple or mundane, but it could be just to come together in love, bring forth a family, learn how to love, in harmony in a family situation, and and that could be the purpose of that relationship, to learn to be a mate, to be a parent together, to really develop that aspect of your relationship with that person. And then, another level of that kind of relationship is a relationship where you come together with the person and you have like a mission, like, say you're both healers, and you come together, heal, you all, soulmates often heal each other, for one thing. They help each other heal, but maybe, you bring forth, let me say, you do a healing center together or something where you, because of course, when you start to get to this more higher level of meeting with another soul, and when a very loving relationship comes together, that love multiplies and goes out into the world, and brings love to others. I don't know if you've ever been around a couple that was a very harmonious soulmate, and you just feel, it emanates from them, because together they love each other, but then that love is meant to, heal and help others too. So that is an aspect of the soulmate, and again, a higher level of it, where you've been with that person many times. And when you meet them, it's like you just know them. It's like, oh, there you are, hi, and you just feel them very, very deeply in your heart, and just, get familiar with them. You can talk real easily, the heart opens, it's like again, it's like meeting somebody you've known many times, and that's because you have. You've known them in many other lifetimes. But again, this is more like a relationship where your love is meant to multiply out and touch other people and reach other people. So, okay, so we have platonic, we have karmic, we have that twin soul, strong, many lifetimes together. And then there is the twin flame relationship. So how many, have you heard about twin flame?
Yeah.
Okay, so the twin flame, although you would think this would be just, Prince Charming and Cinderella coming together, and, waltzing around the ballroom floor. That, even though this is the most intense connection, the most intense, because this is, thinking back to what Plato said, this is the person that is the other half of you. In other words, you are one soul reflecting and coming back together. But, and great intensity, you usually recognize each other immediately, the same kind, but the intensity of it is so off the charts. I can't tell you how off the charts it is. And it's not smooth. It's not smooth because their purpose, and the purpose of twin flames coming back together is it's for ascension, for one thing, and it's to clear the soul, to purify it. And so they mirror to you all your crap. and you mirror back to them their crap. And so it's like sometimes it's like this rhythm where you come together and then something comes up, or you start getting, and then it's like you have to separate. You can't stay in that frequency. It's so strong, and there's times when you almost hate them. Really, it's like, because they're bringing up this horror thing in you, and so and it's so confusing. I'm telling you this from direct personal experience. I'm actually in the middle of a twin flame relationship now, and it's like, oh my God, and yet you can't get rid of them. I've tried that. I tried to get rid of him. He won't go away. He keeps coming back. But it's like, and it's just, but again, I never felt anybody like I feel this person. They're like a part of me. They are a part of you. And they are you. See, that's the other thing. They are you in another polarity. And so it's really absolutely crazy. You know, it really can drive you crazy. Really, I at moments I felt like I was losing my mind. Really, I said, "What is this? Go away, please! I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel this much. Really, I don't want to feel this much. Is how it makes me feel." And so, but again, then you have these moments where you got to get away and try to you're balancing this energy, you know, this polarity, and then, you know, then it comes back together. You know, it's a little smoother. You know, you can be in each other's presence again without, you know, feeling like either you want to kill them or you know, whatever. You just love them so intensely you don't know what to do with all that love. But anyway, the twin flame relationship is, I don't want to say it's the highest, but right now, in where the earth is now, where humanity and the earth is now, you know, we're in this aspect of you know, the human consciousness that is purifying and getting rid of their ego. Really is what ascension is too. It's, you know, we're letting go of the ego and coming back to our soul. Because what happened is, in Atlantis, you know, well, first of all, let's go back to Lemuria. Have all of you heard about Lemuria? Okay, so in Lemuria, that was the highest state of consciousness humanity ever got to. We were really in light body then. We were just, you know, almost ethereal. We didn't speak. We communicated telepathically with each other. You know, it was really, I mean, we were in union with our higher self. You know, we were really in this very high state, the highest state that we ever, you know, evolved to. And then, well, and also in this time, we were also in contact with the universe. And so we were in contact with other extraterrestrial races, and, you know, the planet was, you know, open to, you know, universal consciousness. But what happened is then, you know, we got into the Atlanteans started to develop, and they really, Atlantis was a civilization where there were many extraterrestrial races that all lived together. That's why it was so advanced, and it was very technological, had a lot of technology to it, and you know, but again, we were still in a very high state of consciousness for many years there. And but then, you know, ego started to take over, and other extraterrestrial races that weren't so friendly were coming in and trying to dominate and everything. So, and I don't know exactly how it happened, but we stopped letting the soul be the reason, and the ego came in, and the ego dominated the soul, you know. So that's where we are now. The ego is running the show with most of us. Now we're trying. I don't know about you, but I'm trying real hard to deal with my ego, and I know a lot of us are, and a lot of the people I know, we're trying to, because the ego is separation, you know, it's separation from oneness, you know, and we are heading back into oneness now. We're heading back into a state, you know, that we used to be in you know, back in Lemuria. We're trying to return to that. And so again, now I said all that because, again, that's what soulmates are about, coming back with fragments of ourselves. And of course, the twin flame is like really the reuniting of your soul to itself, you know. So so that's what's really coming down here now, you know, and why the I don't want to say obsession, but the, you know, high level of interest now in, I mean, it's always been there. I started to actually hear about it through astrology, you know, when I'd go to astrology conferences and stuff, there would be mention of it there, you know. But the really understanding what it was, it seems to be really out there now, you know, where people are really trying to understand that part. And it's a time now when the universe, you know, the divine plan, that, you know, we are in a divine plan. There is a plan for us, you know, we're supposed to keep evolving. And so the universe, you know, creator, God, goddess, whatever you want to call the higher, you know, power, wants to bring us back together, and it's being made more available to us now to come together in harmony. So the very high soulmate thing that I talked about earlier, where you come back with a mission and everything, that's one that, you know, where you're coming with that person that you help heal each other. But that relationship is much more harmonious, you know, and it comes together much more easily, and you don't have all that kind of craziness with the twin flame. The twin flame is like just you know, down to the cellular level. You've got to let go, and the ego doesn't want to. The ego wants to hang on, you know. The ego doesn't want to. The ego wants to be right, wants to, you know, wants to be in charge, wants to, you know, doesn't want to, you know, be stripped bare like that, you know. Wants to hang on, and you're not allowed to do that in a twin flame relationship. You have to kind of just expose yourself and, you know, try to deal with this lovingly. The ultimate goal of the twin flame is to, you know, bring their love together, you know, come to that, you know, full moment of just loving unconditionally, you know, without the ego involved, and just, you know, love, and then again share that love in the world. But it's the tough one, let me tell you. It's the tough one.